Hello and welcome back to Victory in Vegas, the MMA betting podcast. I hope you all had a really nice Christmas during the week break from the fights, but it's back to business as usual. And today we're going to be breaking down the final card of 2017, which is UFC 219. I'm your host as always, Newsome, and unfortunately Marc couldn't be here for this one, so it'll be a solo podcast from myself. Jumping straight in. What we normally do on this podcast is get all the bets together, and we'll be breaking those bets down for you in full. Anything else that we haven't betted on for the card, we'll be just quick firing at the end. So a little about who we think is going to win and maybe why, but not going into too much detail with those ones. So straight in. So the first bet of the night for me is on the main card and the main event of the evening. We've got Cris Cyborg versus Holm, and it's gonna be a good fight, this one. Primarily because both fighters are gonna be fighting exactly their type of fight. So what I mean by that is Cris Cyborg is an aggressive striker, really piles the pressure on her opponents, really is pushing forward at every opportunity. Whereas Holm fights her, does her best work fighting backwards on the back foot. So, like I say, counter-attacking, moving backwards, circling in and out with strikes, that sort of game plan. And really, she has come unstuck in the majority of the fights that she's had lately because, her opponents have let her go first and let her come forward, and it doesn't really suit her. It doesn't really suit her type of fighting. And like I say, she doesn't do her best work going forward. She's just one of them counter striking fighters, a little like Lyoto Machida and how Dan Hardy used to fight, stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be a really good fight. But originally, I was leaning Holm. I don't know why. I'd not watched tape at this point. I don't know whether it was just a case of excuse me, a case of at some point Cyborg's going to get beat. Holm is probably the best fighter that she's ever fought, and is she going to come unstuck? Is she going to get frustrated? So I went and watched the tape because, at the time I was thinking this Holm was plus 300. So I had to go and watch the tape. So I watched the tape, and to be honest with you, I couldn't have been any more wrong. It was one of those where I went in watching tape leaning one way, and then not only is it flipped my thoughts, but it's also flipped my thoughts so much that it's turned into a bet. Now, I just think this is a really, really bad fight for Holm, and it's not. I don't think this is. At some point, Cyborg might lose. Again, obviously she lost her first fight in MMA on a debut, but she might lose again. But I think she could possibly retire before she loses another fight in mixed martial arts, and I just don't think Holm is going to be the person to beat Cyborg this time. From what I saw of Holm, and it was literally there's only two fights you can watch in regards to tape for this fight from Holm's perspective, and that is the Ronda Rousey fight and the Germaine de Randamie fight. And the reason why you can only watch both of them is because they're the only two fights at this sort of level that you can see Holm fighting backwards. There's no point watching her fights against Betchko, Heyer, or Miesha Tate, because she's the one moving forward, and it's just pointless watching that tape because that's not how this fight is going to go down. So anyway, I was watching the tape, and I saw Holm. She was moving backwards really well. She was moving left to right, circling really, really well. Doing all the fundamentals of a counter striker and what they should be doing. But the problem, and I spotted it instantly in the Ronda Rousey fight, and then it reiterated when I watched the Germaine de Randamie fight as well. What she does when she's moving backwards, when she decides to strike, she stops dead, she plants her feet, and she moves directly forward, straight forward at her opponent to land a punch or a combination or to throw a kick. And when she moves forward and Cyborg's figured her out, it's going to end badly for Holm. Now, the way Holm gets around this for me is she might need the extra few rounds if she needs a round or two to figure Holm out. But the bottom line is she's got 5 rounds to get Holm out of there, and you know, even if Holm runs off, you know, runs backwards and, you know, does make Cyborg chase for a bit, you know, you've got 5 rounds locked in a cage with Cris Cyborg. At some point in 25 minutes, Cris Cyborg is going to find you. And I think that's what's going to happen here. Now, the bet that I've got on for this, I've got 2 units on Cris Cyborg to win inside the distance. So that's your KO, TKO, your submission. There's a few reasons I didn't play this line straight, and this bet straight. And the reason being is she's minus. I think the best I could have got her was minus 300, and that was a while back now. She's, you know, the price is even worse now, and it's minus 400 in some places. I just don't see any value in betting Cris Cyborg straight, because if for whatever reason the fight does go to a decision, which again I cannot see, but if it does go to a decision, I can't help but thinking that might be because Holm has fixed a counter-attacking ways and has stayed on the outside and picked her off and just managed to run away for 25 minutes, just, you know, just landing the little tippy-tappy shots. And I can see if it goes to a decision, it's more likely to be Holm that's going to take that decision. I don't see Cyborg winning a decision here. So that's the reason why they're the 2 reasons why I've gone inside the distance. Now, I got that line at minus 137, which was a really, really good line. I think it's up to about minus 175 now. There is still the KO TKO prop at minus 125, which I think's got some value as well. But the reason I've gone for the in the distance is just that, having that submission insurance. Now, Cyborg's never submitted anybody in a professional MMA career, but I don't know. There is just something in the back of my head thinking, you know, what if she drops Holm and Holm's covering well and the referee won't stop it and she's got an opportunity to take her back, or, you know, something like that. And like I say, I don't think she's going to submit her. I'm pretty confident she's not. But at minus 137, I'll take that insurance all day long. So my prediction is Cris Cyborg to win by KO. I think it'll come somewhere in the second round, maybe third, depending on how Holm fights. But so that's that one. And in my next bet of the night, I've got Carlos Condit versus Neil Magny, and I've got that fight to go over 1.5 rounds, so it's another prop bet. Now, this line was actually the over and unders for this fight was actually set at 2.5, but as I've said previously on other podcasters, I think there's 3 books in the UK that actually cover all the over-unders from 0.5 through to 2.5, or if it's a championship fight, 0.5 through to 4.5. So they do cover all the overs and unders. So I do always check them out, because sometimes you can get really good value. And this line actually I got on minus 190, and this is a fight that I think is going to go to a decision. I'm not totally sold. I mean, I've got a prediction of who I think might win the fight. I'm not totally sold on it, but the bottom line is I do see it going to a decision, and to have it going, you know, to have the over 1.5 is, you know, just gives you that little bit of extra insurance that, you know, if I decided to go for 2.5 and the fight did somehow end, you know, in the second round, early in the second round, then obviously I'll have lost my bet. But yeah, I'm really liking the over 1.5 bet for this fight. Now, I think that Carlos Condit isn't the fighter he used to be. I don't think he's got as much finishing ability as he had maybe, you know, a few years ago, or when he was in his prime. And you know, anybody that knows me and has listened to me and spoke to me in regards to Neil Magny knows I'm not a real fan of Neil either. I don't know. There's something about him. He's got this great reach. He's got this great height advantage over most fighters. Yet he doesn't use it well. He lets him close distance. And then you look at the Johnny Hendricks fight, he was getting taken down at will. Yes, Hendricks is a good wrestler, granted, but he didn't try and do anything to stop it. He sort of almost accepted that he was going to get taken down as soon as Hendricks closed in on him and clinched up. So I just think, I don't know what it is with Neil Magny. There's just a few things that I'm really not too sure. And I was actually going to bet Carlos Condit in this fight straight when I saw it on paper. When I saw it got announced, but then looking into it, there's just a lot of red flags around actually picking the winner. But I think that Condit, it's going to be a tame fight. I think it's going to be quite uneventful. I think it's going to be one of those fights that's probably going to look like one of the worst fights on the card by the time it comes to the end of the night, and we're summarising how the night went. It's going to be one of those fights that I think some people will forget. I just see it being, the shots not having too much power in them from either side. I think both fighters are just going to try and point fight the way to a decision. I think if Condit does start turning it up a little bit more than Magny would like, I think Magny's going to look for takedowns, but I don't think he's going to get those takedowns easily. So that'll be clinching against the cage, battling for position, ready to get the takedown. That'll waste time on the clock. And then I think when he does get Condit down, Condit might try and get up to start with, straight back up to his feet. That'll be time on the clock. If Magny does complete the takedowns, he'll have some top control. I really don't think he's going to finish Condit on the ground. So again, that'll be time running down on the clock. And then you add in the cardio for this. Both these fighters, expending energy, trying to take the other one down and trying to stand up. That's going to slow both fighters, further in the fight. So I just think all these things, tying together. I think even if you wanted to bet the over 2.5 on this fight is not too bad either. I'm just having a quick look at it now. The over 2.5 is -135. So even that's not a bad line if you haven't got access to the 1.5 over under market. But for me, -190, it's under -200, and I've got 2.5 units on that. I'd be surprised if there's a finish, and if there is a finish, I'll be surprised if it's a quick finish. This fight hasn't got a quick finish written on it. I mean, obviously it's possible, anything's possible in mixed martial arts, but for me, I like the bet, I like the line, and I think it's going to cash. So yeah, just to summarise that, I've got 2.5 units on Carlos Condit and Neil Magny to go over 1.5 rounds. Moving on to the next one. This isn't one that I've bet yet, but it is one that I'm just currently hawking the line on at the minute, and that's Dan Hooker versus Marc Diakiese. Now, again, people that know me, they know, I love Marc Diakiese. He's from my hometown in Doncaster, England. He's a guy that I've trained with a couple of times when I was training a few years ago. He's an unreal talent, and it is tough to set your bias aside. And I do set my bias aside. I didn't bet him in his last fight against Drakkar Klose because I thought that he might have a bit of trouble against a wrestler, especially in the small tough cage as well. So I did have a few reservations with Marc in his last fight, and I didn't bet him. So you can be sure that what I'm about to say and what I'm about to break down and talk about is not. I'm not one of them people that will struggle to put my bias to one side. If I didn't think Marc was going to win, I wouldn't bet him. And basically, I've just given away what I'm about to do. So I am toying between a 2.5 and a 3 unit bet on Marc in his fight. I am really confident in him winning. I just think that it's going to be a close fight. And originally pre-tape, I thought it was going to be sort of a one way game for Marc in this one. But watching tape, Hooker isn't a slouch. He's tough. He does stay in there. He does make it close. But ultimately, I think Marc's the improving guy. Is the young, exciting fighter.
I watched Dan Hooker against Yair Rodriguez, specifically because I know Yair throws flashy kicks, and that's similar to how Marc fights. Marc loves his crazy kicks. So I watched the Yair fight to see how Dan Hooker fares against someone that does have that flash stand up, and I liked what I saw from trying to fade Dan Hooker from the fade of Dan Hooker point of view, and I think, I disagreed with the result to start with, because I think 2 judges scored that 30-27 to Yair, and 1 scored it 30-26. Definitely don't see any 10-8 round in that fight, and I don't think Yair won every round, but I do believe he won the fight anyway. So regardless of that, Hooker does try and close distance, clinch up against the cage, and against Yair he tried to do that when Yair was getting a bit flashy. Also tried a couple of takedowns, but that was in a lower weight division, where I think that I'm sure that was at featherweight. So I think Dan Hooker had the size and the power advantage over Yair, but this fight is up at lightweight, I believe. So I just think that Marc's going to be stronger. So if Dan Hooker does try and clinch up with him and push him against the cage, and really try and control the position there, I just don't think he's going to get away with it as much as what he did against Yair. So that's what Dan Hooker needs to do to win. I think he needs to close distance and not let Marc fire off his kicks and really get his attack game going. And I think that's what Marc's going to do. I think Marc is going to keep distance. I think he is going to throw these kicks. I am a little worried about Dan Hooker maybe going heavy on the leg kicks to try and slow Marc down. I know Marc had a bit of a problem with that against Drakkar Klose in his last fight, and I think Drakkar knocked him off balance a couple of times with those low calf kicks. But ultimately, I don't think Hooker, from what I've seen anyway, Hooker doesn't throw those leg kicks too hard. It's I don't know what it is. It's more of just maybe a tap, just from a judge's point of view. Seeing that he is still striking, and just to make fighters aware that he is going to attack all areas of the body. But I just really love what Marc's doing at the minute. I think that American top team, his game's improving massively, constantly improving. I think that he's going to use takedowns in this fight. Hooker is tough to take down. Jason Knight had problems initially earlier in their fight, trying to take Hooker down. But I think at ATT Marc's with the right guys, the right wrestlers, his wrestling is going to be improved. I think he's going to have his way with Hooker on the feet. I mean, you look at Hooker against Pearson, and there was a big size advantage there for Dan Hooker, and I believe Pearson was winning that fight before he got knocked out. Maybe, that second round was a little close, but that first round I think Pearson took, and Pearson was getting inside and he was catching him and he was hitting him, and that was with a significant reach and height disadvantage as well. I think Marc is a tiny little bit smaller in height, like 2 inches, but it's not going to be anything too significant, and I think Marc is going to be able to land punches. We saw what he did against Kay Musa and I can't remember the guy's name he fought before that in Bama. They were both one bomb KOs over straight right or overhand right onto the chin and putting them clean out. I'm not saying he's going to do that here, but that's always a risk for Hooker if he is going to follow a similar sort of pattern to the Ross Pearson fight and let himself get hit a bit too much. That's a danger. Then you've got all these flash kicks that Marc's throwing in. Do you know what? Sometimes it's a bit like, people can be a bit too flashy and just throw it for the sake of throwing it, but Marc actually connects with a lot of these. You saw it in the Timu Pakalan fight. He connected with a couple of kicks before KOing him. He caught Drakkar Klose with a really good spin wheel kick to the head. I think that was later on in the fight. So he does land these kicks. He doesn't throw them just for the sake of looking good and looking fancy. He throws them to land, and I personally think he has a pretty good success rate when you actually look at the toughness of the kicks that he's actually throwing. But then, like I say, you've got his wrestling, and I think he can close distance. I think he can get Hooker down. Whether he keeps him down, I'm not too sure. I doubt he's going to catch a submission. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure he's going to knock him out either. I think Hooker's tough, and that's one thing I will say for Hooker. He does always hang in there. He took a beating against Knight when they fought, and I think he could potentially take a beating against Marc in this fight. But I think it's going to a decision. So I'm just waiting on the line at the minute. It's at -175 at the minute, which is really where I actually capped the value of Marc. I think he went up to like -200 at some point, but he's come back down to -175. But I've just got a funny feeling that there might be some late bets on Hooker. So I'm just waiting. I'm not going to wait too long, because I've then got to evaluate how much do I think the line's gonna go down by. And when I ask myself that question, I don't think it's going to go down by a great deal. So it could potentially be worth taking the shot now, just in case it does go up. But excuse me. So yeah, I'm just waiting on this line, but it is definitely going to be a bet. And yeah, I've got Marc to win a decision. I think Hooker might take a round, maybe the early round, but I think Marc will take over. Either way, I think it's even going to be a 29-28 or a 30-27. I don't think it's going to be too dominant, but it's going to be enough to win. So yeah, I think it's probably going to be 2.5 units. Like I say, I'll make my decision when I finally put the bet on, but it's more than likely going to be that. So moving on to my next bet, and this is one that I originally put 1 unit on, and I added an extra half a unit a couple of days ago, and the fight's Marvin Vettori and Omari Akhmedov. And I'm really surprised with the line here. Well, I'm surprised that the line is this way, but I was sort of expecting it at the same time, if that makes sense. I sort of had an idea that who would be favourite and who would be the underdog, and it's actually the underdog that I'm going for, which is Omari Akhmedov, which might come as a surprise to a few people, because there's been a bit of hype on Vettori, and I was on him in his last fight against Miranda. I think I'd bet him his fight. No, I didn't bet him his fight before that, because it was Carlos Jr. It was his debut that I bet him on. The guy Vettori, the Italian, he looked awesome coming into the UFC. He'd had some fights regionally that he looked really good on. He stormed through on his debut. Fell short against Antonio Carlos Jr., but most do. I think it was a bit of a stylistically bad matchup for him, that as well. But I think since that since the Carlos Jr. fight, I don't know. I'm not saying there was a massive hype on him, but there was definitely, people were definitely talking about him, and he's been a big favourite in his last few fights, including this one. And in his last fight against Miranda, he started off exactly how I wanted him to. Like I say, I had the bet on him on that night. I think I had 3.5, 4 units on him or something. I can't really remember. So it was a decent sized bet. Started off exactly how I wanted him to. Quick, aggressive, powerful, really putting it on Miranda. Keeping on the outside, because Miranda had power, doing all the right things. Then suddenly he just gassed, and he gassed so hard. Excuse me. And it's not something that he didn't gas because Miranda was, putting a load of pressure on him. He gassed in the fight because he was the one that was expending too much energy. And yeah, it was just really weird to see. And so that instantly has got a red flag for me, because as a young guy gassing as quick as what he did, it just amazed me a bit that's how it went down. And for me, looking at that, like I say, it's definitely got a red flag. And then I look at his opponent, which is Omari Akhmedov. Now, Akhmedov's moving up a division here, so he's moving up to middleweight. So initially, when I first saw this fight, I actually leaned Vettori a bit, but I don't think it was going to be a heavy enough lean to bet him. And the reason being is I thought Omari Akhmedov was going to be a lot smaller than Vettori. I thought that Vettori was going to have a significant size advantage over him. But then when I was actually looking at the size of them, they're actually both exactly the same size. And then I thought, well, Akhmedov might have a good chance of winning here, because I think if Vettori does gas, I mean, Akhmedov has slowed down before in his previous fights, but you might even be able to put that down to a heavy weight cut, cutting too much weight, being too big for the welterweight division. But here, he's not going to have to worry about a weight cut too much. He's going to be able to put on more muscle, more weight. He's going to be just a more natural middleweight than what he was at welterweight. So that's that side of it. And then, like I say, I say this a lot. I might harp on about it a bit too much, but I love myself a Russian wrestler, and that's exactly what Akhmedov is. And he's got some really, really, really good takedowns. And this is the reason why I bet him, because I think if he gets takedowns in this fight, he wins. If he doesn't, he loses. But I think he does. And the reason being is you just watch his technique. He switches his takedowns up depending on who he's fighting, the style, the stance, and it's really, really clever. Like against Al Hassan, he was hitting reactive double legs, which everyone loves to see a blast double. But then later on in the fight, when he was tiring a little bit, Al Hassan was tiring a little bit, he was shooting him for these doubles that Al Hassan was defending pretty well. But then in the middle of the double leg, at that point, a lot of fighters would have just disengaged and thought, okay, I'll stay striking, I'll shoot in again soon if that's what they wanted to do. But he didn't. He switched it straight from the double to the single and completed the takedown. And for me, having that mentality when you're tired in the fight, to know that your double isn't working, you know what, I'm not going to give up because I think I can get the single leg and complete that. It was just really awesome to see. And then when you look at the Kyle Noak fight, he wasn't really giving up too many opportunities to get the reactive takedowns hit on him. So it was more trips that Akhmedov was using against Kyle Noak. So he was using his trip takedowns to get him down, and then controlling him on the ground that way. And like I say, it's just he switches it up depending on who he's fighting. And I just think the exact same thing is going to happen here. I think that Vettori might come out and be quite aggressive, and then I just think Omari's going to be able to hit them takedowns on him. He's whether it be the doubles, the singles, or whether he decides to go with the trips, he'll go with whatever his best option is for that fight, I think. And in the time of the fight, he'll decide. But like I say, it depends if he can get the takedowns. If he can't, if Vettori's stuffing them well and won't go down, I do worry a bit for the bet. But I didn't actually mention this, but I've got Akhmedov. I've got one unit on Akhmedov at plus 200, and then I've got the half unit on him at plus 206. So the odds I've actually got for him, I didn't really have to go heavy with the with how much I put on as well. So it's only a 1.5 unit bet in total. But this is a live dog in this fight. He really, really is. And like I keep saying, I think he is going to get the takedowns. I think he's got the big overhand power shots that he tends to keep his opponents at bay with. So I think that's what he's going to be doing. He's going to he might even hit Vettori and make him think about his power and make him a bit wary of it, and allow him to close distance and to clinch up and to get them takedowns. I think Akhmedov is going to be the stronger fighter at middleweight. Like I say, not much of a weight cut as he's used to, and being able to pack a little bit more muscle and power into his game. I think so. Yeah, I think the overhand shots are going to keep Vettori at bay. Akhmedov's going to score takedowns, and I think he's going to win a pretty decisive decision. I don't think it is going to be 30-27. I do think that Vettori is going to steal around at some point, but yeah,
I'm actually really confident in Akhmedov to go out there and get the job done. And I know a few people aren't, but like I say, everyone sees things differently. And I tend to think that I analyze the wrestling game pretty well. So I'm not saying because of that Akhmedov is going to win. I can absolutely be wrong, and I'm never always going to be right. But I really do favour Akhmedov in here. So yeah, 1.5 units at we'll just say plus 200 because the plus 204 doesn't make too much of a difference. But yeah, 1.5 units, and I hope that cashes. So that's it for my bets for the card. So I'm just going to quickly move on to the quickfire round now. Quickfire round. So the first fight in the quickfire is Khabib Nurmagomedov against Edson Barboza, and like I said previously, I love a Russian wrestler, but in this spot I couldn't bet Khabib for a few reasons. One, the line, it's like minus 275, which is way too much chalk for me. But I do think Edson Barboza has got paths to victories here, and Khabib struggled with weight cuts in the past, cuts too much weight. Is he going to gas? Is he not? Is he going to be able to get the takedowns? Is Barboza going to be able to slow him down with kicks? And I think that's Barboza's path to victory here. I think if he does slow him down with kicks and stuff a couple of takedowns, he's going to end up finishing Khabib. I've heard a few people say, yeah, but what if what if Khabib catches a kick from Barboza? Listen, I don't think Khabib's catching any kick from Barboza. They come fast, they come hard. That's not the way he's going to get takedowns for me. He's going to get takedowns by closing the distance and dragging Barboza to the mat and just controlling him there, which ultimately I think that's what's going to happen. I think Khabib will win a decision. Not sure whether it'll be 29-28 or a 30-27, but I'm pretty confident in him winning the decision, and I really wish that, because I think the line's off, and I really wish Khabib was closer to minus 200, and at those odds I would have bet him. But I can't bet him at the odds he is right now. I think it's just too high. So yeah, my quickfire pick is Khabib Nurmagomedov to win a decision. The next fight we've got Cynthia Calvillo and Carla Esparza. I'm a fan of both girls. Excuse me. Fan of both girls, and I think Calvillo from a grappling point of view and a submission game, it's really fun to watch. And then from Esparza's point of view, she's one of a few really good wrestlers in women's MMA. So obviously I like that side about her. Ultimately though, I think that Carla's wrestling is going to be her undoing here. I think she is going to score takedowns, but I think Calvillo is going to enjoy that. I think Calvillo's got really good scrambles. She's a really great camper, team alpha male with Uriah Faber and co. I think she's gonna scramble. She's gonna be able to transition. I think she's gonna be able to sweep and get a submission. I do think though that if Esparza does manage to get Calvillo on her back, like fully laid on her back, she might be able to control in top position without getting swept or submitted from bottom. But that's an if. When she tries to take Calvillo down, it's very tough to put Calvillo flat on her back with, and making her accept position. So ultimately, I'm going to go with Calvillo by a submission. I think she's going to get taken down, but then she's going to sweep and she's going to grab a submission. Not sure what round, maybe round 2, but whenever the takedowns start coming in from Esparza, that's where Calvillo will get that finish. So yeah, Calvillo by submission is my quickfire pick. Then the next one we've got Khalil Rountree and Michal Oleksiejczuk, and I can remember breaking down the Oleksiejczuk and Kutalaba fight with Namreka when they were supposed to be fighting before Kutalaba pulled out. Oleksiejczuk is really poor from what I've seen. He's striking sloppy, and he is a striker. He doesn't try and get his fights down to the mat too often. He likes to stand and bang, but honestly, he's striking so sloppy. Now, I know I'm not breaking this down in full,
this could also be a potential bet. Now, Rountree for me, his odds are way too high. He's like minus 300. I ain't playing Rountree at minus 300. He's, you know, I know he's looked improved lately, but I can't put money on a guy with a ground game that like Khalil's. I know I've just said Oleksiejczuk doesn't tend to get it to the ground, but you know, what if? So, but the bet may be, and it's all line dependent, the bet may be the KO and TKO prop, because Rountree packs power. He's a good striker. He's an aggressive striker. He looks like a completely different dude lately, like a guy that's possessed or on a mission. You know, however you wanna describe it. But I think that Oleksiejczuk's going to get knocked out, and I would say if the line, and again, I'm not saying I'm going to get this, but if the line's around minus 125, minus 130 for this KO TKO prop, I'm going to hit it, because I do believe strongly that Oleksiejczuk's going to get knocked out. But having said that, I'm also not going to play. I'm not going to play any more on the card if, you know, the line's like minus 180, minus 190, because that's going to take another 2 or 3 unit bet from me to get any decent returns out of that. And it's then at that point, I've got too much, for me personally, too much on the card, too much than I'd like to risk. So yeah, I think Rountree is going to get the knockout, and if, like I say, if it's around minus 125, minus 130, I'll probably put another small bet on that, maybe 1.5 units. But personally, I don't think it's going to be that low. And if it is that low, I think the line will get steamed before it comes over to me in the UK. So my quick 5 picks: Khalil, Rountree by knockout. So the next one is Myles Jury and Rick Glenn. Initially, pre-tape, I leaned Rick Glenn. I thought, yeah, I'll watch tape basing a potential bet on Rick Glenn, because I thought him, I wasn't sure actually at this point who would be the underdog, but I watched tape, and it flipped my decision. I think Myles Jury is going to win the fight, but it didn't flip my decision enough. Like the Cyborg fight, it didn't flip it enough for me to want to bet on Myles Jury. I could see a clear pass. I can see path to victories for both guys, but I just think Myles Jury is just the better overall fighter. And then when I saw the line, I think Myles Jury is like minus 250 or something like that, which is way too much. Even at a pick'em, even if Jury was an underdog, I probably wouldn't have bet him. Like I say, I can see legit path to victory for Rick Glenn, as I can for Jury as well. But I think it's going to go to a decision. Both guys are tough. I don't think Jury's going to get knocked out. He's been in there with better strikers than Rick Glenn, and Rick Glenn's just tough as shit. So I really, unless Jury can get him down and get the submission, which is where he does his best work, I could maybe see a submission from Jury. But again, Glenn's tough, and it's also hard to take down as well. So yeah, I'm going to go Jury by a decision in that one. The next one, we've got Louis Smolka versus Mattheus Nicolau. Nicolau coming off a split decision win against Moraga, which is pretty impressive. Yeah, I think he's going to win the fight. I'm not a massive fan of Louis Smolka. There's a few fighters that I don't really rate at this sort of level. As I was talking a little bit earlier about Neil Magny, Louis Smolka, I just think he's okay on the ground, but he's not great on the feet. There's something about his game. I don't know what it is really. I just do not rate the guy. I don't think he's that good. Nicolau, I don't really know too much about him apart from, like I say, he split decision against Moraga, which is impressive. But there's just a lot of red flags for me in general with this fight, and I know a few sharp people are on Nicolau. People that I've talked to, such as Dan Levy from Half the Battle, is really high on him, and I hope you all cash. But for me, it's not a bet that I'm going to take, and especially not the current line. It's like minus 300, which is just daft. I don't see how this fight warrants a minus 300 favourite in it. But I know the people that are on Nicolau got him at like minus 150 or 175, and when it was rising after the odds got released. So that's a really good line if you're high on Nicolau. But no, not for me. I think it's going to be
I think it's going to be another decision if I'm going to guess. But like I said, I've not taped it too much because, sorry, I've not taped it at all. It was one of those fights that I wasn't going to touch. As like I say, I didn't know too much about Nicolau, but I really don't hate the fade in Louis Smolka because I just don't rate the guy. So yeah, Mattheus Nicolau by decision is my quick fire pick. Finally, Tim Elliott versus Marc Delarosa. So Marc Delarosa, interesting step in for Tim Elliott. I know a bit about the guy, but I've not taped the fight just purely from the line point of view. Tim Elliott's not the sort of fighter that you really want to be betting against very often. He's reckless, so reckless on the ground. He does not give a shit if he gives up position. He doesn't care. Somebody takes him down, he'll sweep you. Then he'll allow his opponent to sweep him, and it's just back. I mean, you saw it when he fought Louis Smolka. It was such a fun fight to watch. But I'd bet Tim Elliott that fight, and it was just so just such a sweat fest trying to watch that fight with the bet on it. So even though he's reckless, he is really good at the same time. He's really unorthodox. He's struggled, his opponents will struggle to get someone in that can really emulate Tim Elliott in training and in camp leading up to fight him. So Marc Delarosa's tough, a good fighter. So's Tim Elliott. I'm going to pass, but I'm going to enjoy the fight. Ultimately, I think Tim Elliott will win a very close decision, maybe even a split. So yeah, didn't like the line. Think Tim Elliott's going to win. Pass from me. And that sums it up really. So just a quick rundown of my bets for the card. I've got 2 units on Cris Cyborg to win inside the distance. I've got 2.5 units on Carlos Condit and Magny to go over 1.5 rounds. I've got 1.5 units on Omari Akhmedov to beat Marvin Vettori. And my final bet of the card, like I said, unless Khalil Rountree has a good price for his KO prop, will be Marc Diakiese, which is either going to be a 2.5 or a 3 unit bet around the -175 mark. So that does it for this breakdown. So as always, you can go onto my website. I've got some really cool things coming in 2018, making some slight changes to the site in regards to additions rather than changing what's on there. I'm really happy with what's on there. I'm really happy how it's progressing. So yeah, a couple of exciting things happening for the site in 2018, which should give it a nice push. As always, I've got my bet picks on there. So yeah, if you forget anything in this podcast, you can see my write-ups on there of who I've bet. As always, it's a centralised place for all the other podcasts as well. So you can see a list of all the good dudes that put good free content out for you every single week. Work hard as shit to do that. So all credit to them, and they're a credit to the website as well. And then if you want to see all my bets as well, you can go to betmma.tips/Newsome MMA. See all my bets from there. But yeah, if you could like, subscribe, comment. Again, I keep saying that the channel's really new, so anything that you guys do at this point really helps me, so it is really much appreciated. And yeah, we'll enjoy this card, and I hope everybody has a nice safe new year, and we'll see you back in 2018. So thank you.